There you go.
Perfect. Thanks, Nick. So when we were thinking about how to go about this session, we really wanted it to be super interactive and not kind of like an online talk where you're just being kind of spoken at. So we've hopefully designed it to be as interactive and participant-led as possible. Us Global Skin staff are really keen to just kind of facilitate, but not be too involved. We'd love to hear from you guys. So the purpose would be to co-create ways of working together. We have working groups that are based in communities, in networks, and council contexts. And we're hoping that by the end of the session that you feel more connected and kind of more on the same page, have a slightly better idea about how working groups within Global Skin actually work. Um, Kind of understand how you want to run your meetings and track your different action points, and then how to kind of brainstorm with each other best ways to engage your different communities, networks, and councils. So to get us started, we have a mentee. Nix is just going to do a little transition to the mentee platform, but I'm sure you've used it before. Essentially, you scan the QR if you want to, if that's easier for you. Otherwise, you can also go to menti.com and put those numbers in if that's your preferred way of joining. I'll just wait a little bit for people to join. We have six people so far. We can go nice and slow on this one as people join. Essentially, the first question we'd love for you to answer is using one word, what would you like to gain from today, from our time with each other? Nice. We have 11 participants.
Nice.
Nice. Connection, networking, understanding. More understanding, insights, collectivism. Nice. I see connections nice and big. That means it's been submitted more than once, so that's great. It's a good one to be common. I'll give it a second or two for one or two more respondents. Learning. Let's see, be clear in the waiting room. Nice, good words. Great words.
You get to flip back, Debbie?
Yeah, sounds good. We will come back to Menti. So if you weren't able to join in on that one, you're welcome to scan in on the next one that we have after a slide or two. So essentially, I suppose it's helpful to have one or two basic sort of definitions. And so we just put here that our working groups within Global Skin are volunteer led and essentially bring together members from our different regions, communities, or councils. So we're not all necessarily representing regional networks. We do have one or two communities and councils that also have working groups. And essentially, you collaborate. You have generally a yearly project that you're all working on. They definitely look a little bit different from each other, and your work essentially just supports Global Skin's strategic goals in some way, and also some form of engagement with your region, your community, or council. So I suppose we just had a small idea of asking about what you feel like success would look like within a working group of Global Skin. So we are a we are a kind of smallish group, and we thought maybe if you wanted to, you could either put in the chat or turn your mic on what you think success as a working group within Global Skin might look like. It could be a one sentence. You could just say one word. Totally up to you guys. We will kind of have a little reveal in a little bit about what we think success looks like as well. but yeah, it's a conversation. You can let us know what you're thinking. Ajit, I see
Yeah,
your
and just
mic is off. Oh
just
yeah,
to
go
add also,
next.
if people could please tell us their name and like which working group or
Oh yeah.
committee or which group you belong to, that'd be great.
Who are you? Maybe Ajit just has the mic off as a,
Shall I start first,
yeah,
just to
go for
keep
it,
the ball
Edmund.
rolling? Thank you
Sure.
very much. Now, the word collectivism, it was typed by May. So I'm looking at collectivism and alignment. If you ask me about success, how it looks like, right? It's like a working group where members feel connected, which is the big word earlier on, and we are very clear about our individual roles, confident in running meetings, and very important, the light bulb, able to turn shared ideas into practical action that create meaningful impact for the dermatology patient community like Global Skin. Sorry, it's a bit mouthful, but I'm just thinking aloud,
No,
you
those
know,
are
to look,
great.
yeah, to look into the collectivism and alignment. Okay, that's my thought. All right, Karen, next. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Edmund.
Yes.
Hey, Karen, you can go for it.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Karen. I'm from the Mexican Vitiligo Foundation. And I love that you're doing all this. Thank you, guys. It's great. My word also was connection. That was the first one I chose. I think it's great to be able to know what's going on around the world, to get to know that there's another foundation in somewhere working about something. And that's really inspiring. And it gives us ideas and it's also problem solving. Somebody somewhere already faced something that I'm dealing with, and we can share some ideas and some results. So also my word is connection.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing, Karen. Anyone else wanna say what you're thinking or put it in the chat? Also okay if not. Next, maybe we can pull up what we have put there. So we've also generally we thought about the same ideas, but we put down some of the nitty-gritty type smaller fine print things as well that sort of are the backbone of how the working groups run and what make them successful. So that looks like individual members taking on parts of a task. So there's individual working as well, not just being online and in your meetings with each other. And then attending working group meetings as well is helpful. And once you have those meetings, you kind of arrive with your items ready, being able to report back on what you've worked on. So in many ways, it's not an advisory group where you just kind of arrive for your meetings, but it's having that working aspect outside of meetings as well, and then catch up on working group meetings if you've missed anything. So actively go and look for the minutes on your drives, read up, and then share within the WhatsApp group if you have some opinions or anything you'd like to add. And then obviously also I think some of these things seem quite basic, but I suppose after one or two of the groups been running for a while, it's quite good to recap some of the more simpler things. But essentially, just keeping things going within your WhatsApp working group. So if someone sends a message about something, just trying to reply as timelessly as possible within your working group WhatsApp. And then if you are also in a community or network or council that has a wider WhatsApp group with the rest of your group, then also trying to keep the conversation going in that community as well. And Nicole, I think it's over to you. Nice.
Thanks, Tony. Oh, actually, Tim, you wrote in the chat. I don't know if you wanted to say aloud what your thoughts were.
Yeah, for me, it's just making impact on people's lives. That's why we work for it. So, and yeah, when we're talking about working together, I think to work effectively. So yeah, don't just work smart, not hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
I appreciate that. Saida also said something, and Ajit.
Yeah,
I can't open my
Fikre.
chat though.
Oh, good. I can go for it. So Fikre said the working group gave me the opportunity to have closer and better look at the various dermatology organizations in Africa, which is cool. Saida mentioned that she's from the Southeast Asia group and she expects active and connected sharing of real issues from the ground, which is perfect. Ajith mentioned success means working very hard for specific tasks with several people. And Saida said useful for regional. That's perfect. Thanks so much, guys, for putting your ideas in the chat.
Yes, thank you so much. So the next question we had was, you've been part of your working group for a while now. What word best describes your working group today? And there aren't too many of us on the call today. So if you want to also talk about that and where you think your working group is at, that'd be great. I see connections popping up quite a bit, which is really awesome. That's the purpose. Goals, union, inclusive, positive. I see focus, the next generation. That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, these are all really positive words about what describes your working group today. And I definitely feel that in supporting the work that you guys are doing. It's wonderful for us, I think, as GlobalSkin staff to see all of you work towards a collective goal to support your network or your community. It's really wonderful. Awesome. And then also welcome to Kiara. You just joined. Nice to see you again. Okay, so I'll go back to our presentation here. Hi. So in terms of just the working group itself, what we have in our terms are that working groups are made of up to 5 to 7 people, max 2 members per country, and usually, give or take, about 2 members per disease area. It might be different in your different working groups. Board directors can join, but they have no actual vote within the working group itself. And all members, if you haven't signed a code of conduct, let us know and we'll send that link to you so you can. And it's 2-year terms, renewable up to 3 times. And also there's a staff rep. So myself, Yelchin, and Tony are all part of one of your working groups. And these are just the defined roles within each of the working groups. There are 3 specific roles that are defined. And there are also general members, of course, within the working groups. So there's a chair and a vice chair. Some working groups have co-chairs. It depends. But really, the chairs and vice chairs are really there to lead and help guide the group, keep things moving forward, and really pushing the others to work collectively, as well as the general members of each working group to respond, follow up, and also have their leadership to move the work forward within their groups. And there's also a treasurer, of course, who manages network funds and budgets, is there to kind of ensure financial accountability for the projects that each of the working groups takes on for their group. Yes. And we have another mentee, so I'll just go back, mentee, which is the question that we have is what feels most challenging right now for you all? So, sorry. Go here. Yeah, as mentioned, you've been part of your working group for a little bit now. We've talked about what your group is feeling like. What is the hardest part or the most challenging aspect of working within a working group for you? Yeah, member engagement, roles and ownership. And if you say other, please feel free to speak up and explain what the other is, if you'd like. Yeah, I think some working groups meet more often than others, or there can be a long time between each of the meetings for the groups. It looks like meeting structure is not an issue or
Yeah, I
a
was just
challenge
gonna
for you.
say, that's great.
Edmund?
Yes, one of them, I'm one of the two that have selected other.
Okay.
So please allow me to explain from here.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I was just looking at because in Asia Pac, we do have a balance, we have to balance the regional diversity, especially with some of
Yeah.
the consistent participation with
Mhm,
all our members, which is really challenging. And also as a working group, right, I thought that we may have members from different countries and even continents, disease area, time zone differences. We have Ajay from Sri Lanka, and of course,
Mhm.
I'm still waiting for our Australian friend to join us
Yeah.
because of the time, so the time zone, and of course, the level of experience. And it's important to make sure that every one of us feel included, understand our role, because I need to have, a clearer role, because you have specified earlier on, like the chair, vice chair, a treasurer, clearly, and even continue to contribute meaningfully between meetings. So it's not just calling up for the meeting, but some of the background work that we have to done. We have to do, and
Mhm.
then
mhm,
we may even have, of course, if I would ask for a subcommittee, it's too much, for us to work on. So, and of course, we meet only, you know, every maybe once a month with the representative from GlobalSkin,
Mhm.
as the anchor point, So, but obviously, from your point of view, you wanted us to navigate this ship instead of
Mhm.
GlobalSkin, you
Right,
know.
right.
So I fully understand the different point of view, and
Mhm.
obviously, many of us we sit in different board and different
Yeah.
whatever
mhm,
advisory in that sense. So that's why the alignment to me is certainly very important. And this is one of the key stuff that I'm looking at as one of the challenging, uh,
mhm.
some of the challenges that you want us to share. Sorry, a bit mouthful again. So, but don't ask me to type, please. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that, Edmund. I think you brought up a lot of really good points from time zone to the diversity within each area group. And
This
of course,
area, yeah,
the alignment is super important amongst what are the region's goals or the community's goals, the group's goals, and our goals also as Global Skin. So
certainly.
yeah, I think that maybe it's a similar challenge for other working group members in different areas. I don't know if anybody else wanted to talk about what feels most challenging for them right now. Hi, Fikre.
I
Hello,
think,
hello everyone. I think I am one of the two who taught the other.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Um, yeah, the most challenging, just mainly for me, it's not for the whole group. I am not representing the whole group, but for me within this group is uh, since every meeting, the whole work is dependent on the digital platform, the webinars. I usually get challenged with it might fall actually under the member engagement, but the reason behind is we have a problem with the internet access, electricity. Sometimes after we have joined, we get out, or we couldn't able to attend and follow different webinars and different meetings. So uh, we just for me this is the most challenging uh, that I have. The other is the time zone. The time zone is also a little bit challenging for me. For example, every time regularly we meet, it's a bedtime for me. I
mhm.
usually attend the meeting from home. So with the family and with the time, it gets a little bit challenging. Yeah, these are the two challenges that I usually face.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, I think actually, basically what you and Edmund have both mentioned made me think of maybe it's helpful to have these conversations in our individual working group meetings maybe more often about what's been challenging, because I think also um, people have joined the working group in many different capacities. For some, they kind of potentially work full time for their organization, and so they maybe have a lot of time to do working group activities. And then potentially for others, they have like a sick family member and they have a full-time job, and then their organization is over and above that. And then working in the working group is also over and above that. So I think also just navigating different work capacities within the group can also be challenging sometimes, or at least that's something I've picked up on. So I think I'm kind of thinking from here that the one or two groups that I work with or am the staff representative of, I think be helpful to actually have these conversations more frequently so we can chat them out and find solutions and ways forward. Thanks for sharing,
Yeah.
guys.
That's a great point, Tony. And not to mention also people's health. I mean, a lot of us are skin disease patients. So that's obviously it can be a huge barrier sometimes if you're not feeling well. So yeah, I appreciate the open communication within the working groups that you are in and to share the burden together. Super important. I'll go back to our presentation and I will also pass it over to Yelchin in just a moment. Okay, over to you.
Thank you, Nicole. Hello, for those who don't know me, I'm Yelchin Mamado. I am a special advisor for Europe and I work with the European community mostly. And in the European community as well, we are having a working group and I am not responsible, let's say working closely with them. And here, let's talk about the working group objectives or slash tasks or responsibilities. It must not be something new to you, but it's always good to remind and to brainstorm about. The core, of course, of a core activity would be developing and implementing an annual project addressing community slash network slash councils needs while aligning with the GlobalSkin strategic plans. Secondly, it would be organizing core activities, including virtual meetings, mentorship, knowledge sharing, and capacity building, of course, not limiting to these activities. Submitting updates, reports, and minutes of meeting to GlobalSkin staff. This is something that we are also perhaps will be elaborating further. Then sharing GlobalSkin programming information resources among your group, network, community. And finally, last but not least, ensuring an inclusive engagement and equitable participation across all member countries and disease areas. Next, Nicole. Yeah, a new mentee here. Nicole is doing a lovely job switching.
Thank you.
So the question is, what will have the biggest impact on the success of your working group? It's kind of a continuation of the previous question that we had, but in specific aspects. And would it be clear roles, simple task tracker, productive meetings, chairs lead by example, or consistent participation? Yeah, I think you can now connect and cast your votes.
Is it working for folks, the mentee? Oh, there we go. All at once.
Yeah. Yeah, we go. Of course. Don't forget to submit. I mean, you are voting by percentage to all of them, but in the end, you need to submit so that your choices are taken into consideration. Just yeah, a couple of seconds, and yeah, the votes are still coming. Yeah, and I think it is clear that in the minds of all of us, the consistent participation is very important. Otherwise, I would say it also the engagement. We constantly talking about the engagement of the participants of the group members is very important. Productive meetings, it is also like making meetings as productive and with tangible results. And without clear rules, those wouldn't be impossible, of course. Simple task tracker, chairs lead by example. Although they got less points than the others, but they are also very, very important. Thank you very much for this input. Here, I'm also now turning the question to you, running effective meetings. What makes a meeting feel effective for you? Because effectiveness can be sometimes a subjective perception. So it is now, I would like to hear from you what you consider as an effective meeting and what to do to make the meeting effective. Anyone? I can't see all of you. Perhaps some raise their hand.
Yachin,
Yes,
if you may, let me start off again.
please, Edmund.
Thank you. Now, obviously, when you talk about impactful meeting itself, right, you have to make people feel effective.
Right.
Not look, but feel effective when everyone is clear on the purpose, the goals which I've mentioned earlier on, and has the respective space to contribute and live with agreed actions. And of course, I always look at the three words, sense of ownership and with timelines. That's where our Gantt chart will come in, because whatever project we do, right, it's always start and ending. You know, I always tell people everything that we do is temporary, except marriage. Yeah. Okay. You can start that, you cannot say,
That's
I love
good.
for 30 years. Nico, I think you agree, yeah? All right. You want your husband to love you for 30,000 years, not 30 years, right? Or more. Okay, anyway, so timeline is important. And for me, it's all about the discussion about turning shared ideas into practical follow-up actions that, you know, strengthen the whole working group and benefit the patient community and have a good puzzle. And when we meet in Montreal, I mean, this is what I'm looking at as being an impactful statement and good for patient advocacy work. Sorry again, blah, 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 a lot of things, Yachin.
Absolutely not, Edmund. Those are really very valuable insights, and we will make sure that we collect all of them and have it available for the whole community. Karen, I see you raising the hand.
Yes, hi. I agree with Edmund, and I would add if we could finish something in the meeting, like if we could come up with a plan or something that doesn't need homework afterwards, that feels really effective. Having homework after the meetings is like extra work. So you have the hour of the meeting that you dedicate to that, and then you have to keep on going with your job. So if we could do something in the meeting and finish that, and then we check that off, that would be really effective for me.
Excellent. I see some comment here, Saida, after meeting, what to do next. It's an open question. It's a rhetoric question. If anyone wants to elaborate, I think this is a very good question. Like, yes, meeting, and then it's a question about the follow-up, really. And yeah, I think also, Saida, you're questioning the humoristic side of your question. Well, it's a very, very relevant question, and I thank you for these. Here are some tips for you about how to make the meeting effective or productive. Of course, setting a clear agenda before the meeting would avoid loss of time and loss of energy, and to be more in line and and effective session. Rotating meeting times where possible to support community network or council collaboration. We talked about it because we have different time zones, different people having different work times, priorities, and so on and so forth. Recording sessions are very important. Now it is very easy, and sharing summaries for anyone who cannot attend. Not only for anyone who cannot attend, but also for the participant is very, very important, because very often we forget what we have been discussing during the meetings, and now the modern platforms offer good opportunities and possibilities for this. Keeping meeting focused and inclusive. I don't know if today we succeed doing it, but this is something that we always try to do. Use a chair to facilitate and a note taker to capture action, which refers to our previous slides, like clear rules for everyone, and assuming the responsibility. Finally, every meeting with clear next steps. The question by Saida was next meeting and next. So this is here, which is very, very relevant point. Everyone should know what is going to happen after this meeting and how we are going to use the outcomes of this meeting. So I'll pass it over to Tony, unless anyone has any question. Please don't hesitate to raise your hands.
Thanks, Yelchin. And also thanks for the continued messages in the chat. It's also helpful to hear in that way. So leading on with how the meetings go, minutes and task management, essentially from GlobalSkin side, we've put 1 or 2 templates together, 1 or 2 helping documents, that kind of thing. Of course, if the YPL, for example, has 1 or 2 extra ways that they task track or different platforms that they use. So these are just basic, but essentially a place to put down an agenda, who's going to say what, who's in charge of what, just a little bit of a layout is very helpful for meetings. And then also minute tracking, so that it gets down on the document, it gets put somewhere stored nice and safely on your drive. Also for GlobalSkin's sort of tracking purposes. But it had been mentioned of you finished with the meeting and what next. I think having meeting minutes is a great space to, in your meeting, say to each other, great, we've discussed XYZ. Who's going to take on this? Who's going to take on that? And those are kind of the different things that you work on in between the meetings. I think obviously it's also really helpful to have those minutes so that if 1 or 2 have missed meetings, they can also catch up, which is really helpful. We put these documents together and the ARN shares the meeting notes straight in the WhatsApp group afterwards. So very accessible. I obviously store them on our side in a document form, but it's really helpful and easily accessible from everyone if you are working within a WhatsApp working group to just have the notes right there. WhatsApp's on your phone, and you can catch up really easily if you have missed something. So these are 2 basic templates that exist. And if your working group hasn't seen them before, we're more than welcome to send them if you would like to use them, just to make things a little bit easier. And then, I think obviously a productive meeting, 1 or 2 I've mentioned, is trying to smash out as many different things within the meeting as possible, and having an agenda and going through ABC and trying to discuss those items together while you have the time online together. But I think there's some parts to a working project, or at least the ways that you engage your network or your community or your council, that do need some sort of offline work in between your meetings. That would be 1 or 2 tasks that different members would take on. So that would look like taking ownership of a task. Put your hand up in the meeting, say, I'm good at XYZ, I can take that on. Is really helpful, and then working on that bit in between the meetings. Where possible, try not leave the work to 1 or 2 people. I think, the ARN working group has been going for the longest, a number of years, and There are some times where it feels like work is delegated nice and evenly. Then there are other times where people's lives are busy and there's different things going on, and it can feel like if you aren't not constantly, but if you aren't being super diligent about checking things and replying to messages, it can sometimes feel like the work's not been evenly distributed. So keeping momentum between the meetings is also helpful. So if you were tasked with um, contacting someone to maybe speak on a podcast or to have a coffee chat with your network or your council. If you have emailed that person, pop it in the WhatsApp group. Hey, chatted to XYZ. They're keen to take part in a coffee chat. Those kinds of things don't have to wait until your meetings with each other online. It's just these seem like super basic things, but across cultures and across countries, it's really great to keep the momentum going within the WhatsApp group towards your projects and your engagement initiatives. And yeah, that these things can seem simple, but are really important to keep the energy going. So they actually do matter quite a bit at the end of the day. So yeah, as mentioned that within the ARN and one or two other groups, there can also be low engagement, and so it's like a wavy type thing. Sometimes people are super involved, and then other times they go a little bit quiet. And of course, we all have general etiquette of letting people know if you can't make a meeting, especially like the leaders of the group, that kind of thing, catching up where you can. But yeah, every now and again, life happens, and one or two people go quite quiet. And so, how does that work for the rest of the group? How can we manage that? How can we improve that? And I suppose this is sort of where we can look at it and realize that we people, and at the end of the day, people have a lot of commitments. And like we mentioned earlier, perhaps a flare up with your skin, those kinds of things. So essentially, it's pretty much up to the leaders within the group. Of course, you also have your own accountability of how you manage yourself in the group too, but check-ins with each other. Hey, haven't seen you at a meeting in a meeting or two. Is everything okay? Are you still good? Um, Very real examples are that one or two of the countries within Africa, within our ARN working group, are in quite high levels of unrest. And so when your home life is so crazy and your country's upside down, it's really hard to think about these types of commitments. And so that's where I think open communication and checking in with each other is really helpful. Like Fikre mentioned as well, there's connection issues sometimes in some of our developing countries. So it's all just about keeping open communication with each other, and every now and again, just if something's not working for you, just message in the WhatsApp group and say, hey guys, our meetings are getting a bit long, can we shorten them a little bit? Then it's more it's more manageable to attend them fully, that kind of thing. So open communication and proper check-ins, I think, are quite helpful here. Thanks, Nix.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, so a big part of what the working groups are doing is to do a project. I think most of the working groups have received the link for the submittable application so that you can kind of start thinking about what that project is. But here's just some steps on how to plan a project moving forward. So I think you would start with an issue within your community, your network, or council. I think, again, a lot of working groups have discussed this in length, at least in the very beginning stages of what they would like their project to be for the whole network or council community. Turning that idea into a simple plan with very specific goals and objectives and roles and timeline as well. And then you would apply for the project fund through submittable. And then you also need to bring that plan to your network or your council or your community for approval. So the Latin American working group and the Asia Pacific working group have planned network-wide meetings in July, and I think July for Latin America and then June for Asia Pacific. And we also have a template that you will upload to the Google Drive so that you can kind of input your ideas into there. I was also wondering if maybe the folks from the working groups want to share actually a little bit about where their ideas are at. Maybe I'll call on Mappy or Karen from the Latin American group to just share very quickly about where you're at with your idea. Karen, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. So we want to talk about mental health and the impact of skin disease. So our project is to use social media to do awareness about this issue together. So do a reel with someone from the psoriasis Argentinian association and one with the albino, and things that you wouldn't think that were related, so people know that we're working together, and then speaking about the same topic, how it affects them. So having this like global impact on skin disease, even though we're talking about different areas and different diseases. And I also suggested we have a podcast for the Mexican Vitiligo Foundation, so we can use the podcast to disseminate how we're working together. So we can have everyone in the podcast talking about their projects and their associations.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, well, I'm very excited for the next steps. Did any other working group want to share quickly? And if not, I realize we also have 13 minutes left in our presentation. So I'll move forward. I'll go ahead. So just some ideas. These are some ideas on your project that you could do: advocacy training and resources, developing patient leader advocacy skills on how to effectively work with industry or policy makers, healthcare providers. You can develop awareness materials, communications materials and packages for your groups, host online events, which I think the African Regional Network did last year through the webinars. And then also you could even start a small research idea where you're gathering resources for an initial landscape analysis. What are the unmet needs within your region or community or council? Yeah, in terms of how to engage your whole group, not just the working group itself, some ideas are to have your coffee chats, to have your webinars, your workshop, to have peer sharing sessions where people are just kind of connecting with one another, staying in touch again through the larger WhatsApp groups, emails, then keeping the approach more consistent rather than having it be completely perfect. And then obviously to make sure that your project is approved by the entirety of your network community or council, and then having at least 2 meetings per year, just to make all the other members within your community know that you exist and that this is what's happening within your group. Okay, we have a Menti again, and that is to please rank the ways that you keep members engaged.
I think this is the final one.
The final
Last
Menti?
Menti. Yeah, last Menti.
Okay, great. Yeah, so there's some options for how you would like to keep your members engaged. I know the the African Regional Network WhatsApp is very active for sure for the whole GlobalSkin membership, which is great. It's great to see all the sharings. And yeah, maybe Fikri, do you want to share quickly about how people use the WhatsApp group for the regional network?
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. Yeah, we are fully dependent on that platform. In my evaluation, is more accessible than others. So yeah, most of the members and the working group members and the network members fully use that. That is an effective way of communication, and we are almost fully dependent on that so far. Instead of emails and other platforms, that WhatsApp communication has been found more effective than other platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's a great example of how whole entire networks or communities or councils can be very connected. Other folks have mentioned coffee chats and peer sharing and webinars and workshops. So obviously all online forms of keeping members engaged. I did like what you said, Edmund, about Montreal 2027. It'll be great to see everyone in person in Montreal next year and have a regional network and also other council community meetings as well, so that you can see everyone together. I'm just going to flip back to the presentation and just have a few more slides, then we'll do a Q&A. So the final thing is that for monitoring and end of year reporting, so because there's a project involved where there is funding for the groups, reporting is important, just for tracking of your impact and your visibility, and for you also to track your activities throughout the project timeline, and the outcomes throughout the year, and just making sure that we have a template for you so you can keep your reporting simple. But also keep it in mind throughout the project timeline, what's been happening and how you can share back the results of that project with GlobalSkin, also your larger group. These templates will be put onto the Google Drives, so you have access to them as well, and you can work as a group, or the chairs can also take the lead if they'd like to report after the project is completed. And if you have any questions, like Tony said, on any of these materials, just let us know. Okay, so the last question we have is, thanks for staying for almost an hour. What is